Morgan and Jane Street could potentially be colluding with Morgan Stanley in a new Bitcoin attack. So Morgan Stanley just announced in-kind redemptions for their Bitcoin trust for Bitcoin ETFs, and most people are reading this as a very good thing. But when you read the finer details, when you connect some dots here, there's more to be afraid of than just another paper Bitcoin attack. But my view is it's a new way for them to steal your Bitcoin. Again, we've been saying this forever on the show. It's all about incentives. And the incentive I'm seeing here is a continuation of Wall Street trying to get your Bitcoin, trying to incentivize you to give up your private keys. And I think we may have just found another example of this. So let's get into it. Here we are on Business Wire. Official press release this morning, June 5th at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. We have Morgan Stanley Wealth Management and Galaxy Digital announce referral capability for in-kind creation of spot crypto ETP shares. Now, first of all, I am a fan of Galaxy Digital. Well, I'm actually, let me roll that back. Maybe not a fan, but I do think they are trying to do very good work in the Bitcoin space. So I wouldn't necessarily say this is a knock on Galaxy Digital here. I'm just saying I don't really trust the big banks, okay? That's first overall caveat, but let's get into this. So Morgan Stanley today announced a new referral arrangement with Galaxy Digital through which eligible clients can lend cryptocurrency to Galaxy and receive shares of ETFs or ETPs with exposure to spot crypto, including but not limited to the Morgan Stanley Bitcoin Trust, of course, offered by Morgan Stanley. The model is designed for clients that want to lend crypto assets for repayment, in traditional investment products in an efficient manner, enabling portfolio integration, including margin and lending capabilities while reducing onboarding times and costs. So again, this is being marketed, being promoted as a convenience factor for Bitcoiners. Hey, Bitcoiners, we know you want the ETF. Well, look, we're going to do in-kind redemptions. So it's quicker. It's easier for you, okay? Keep that in mind. Now, how it works. Morgan Stanley is providing clients with educational resources about digital assets and facilitating referrals to Galaxy. Under Galaxy's model, a client lends specified digital assets, Bitcoin and a couple other shitcoins to Galaxy. And once Galaxy determines it can settle such loan in ETP shares, Galaxy will coordinate an in-kind creation with an authorized participant. Now, I want you to keep this phrase in mind, an authorized participant, and then ETF or ETP shares will be delivered into the client's account of their choosing. Today, onboarding timelines for these transactions can exceed 4 weeks. Through the development of this referral capability, onboarding times may be reduced by as much as 75% or 75% in some cases. Guys, man, look at that. It's so much easier. It's so convenient. In addition, Galaxy will reduce its lending transaction minimum for Morgan Stanley referred clients from $25 million to $5 million, expanding access to qualified clients who meet eligibility requirements. Look, democratize investing, right? Like, hey, you don't have to be a mega millionaire. You can just be like a kind of millionaire. You know, you don't need 25 million to participate in it. You just need 5 million. So still in line with what I've been saying for a long time. In particular, when we were covering the Russian Bitcoin allowance, quote, only for high net worth individuals, this is still kind of the play here. You got to be a high net worth individual to participate in this. So, you know, that's not really the part that caught my attention. Again, I want to go back to this part because when I saw this, of course, my initial thought was like, oh, in-kind redemptions for ETF. Honestly, sounds great. You know, you exchange your fiat dollars, you get ETF, and if you should so ever want to claim the Bitcoin, then you can pull the Bitcoin out of the ETF. At least that was what I thought was going to happen when I saw this headline at first. And then I looked at this press release. I'm like, oh, wait, it's going the other way. You lend them Bitcoin. Once that transaction settles, you get ETF shares. Now, the part that really stuck out, and this is where I was joking this morning, where I was like, look, you know, I started as a Bitcoin shit poster. And now it seems like I am somehow doing some form of journalism. Like, wait, what's going on? How is Opti a journalist here? I'm just a shit poster. I'm just a troller. I just talk about Bitcoin. And somehow I'm like, wait, why do I keep finding the smoking guns here? What is going on here? And again, it hinges on the unauthorized participant part. If you don't know what that means, it's essentially that here. Actually, let me give you the official description of it before I butcher it. So an authorized participant is a specialized financial institution, typically a large bank or broker-dealer, that has an exclusive legal agreement with an ETF issuer to create and redeem shares of an exchange-traded fund. Authorized participants are the only entities permitted to interact directly with the ETF fund manager in the primary market. Okay? So why do I think this is the smoking gun? Well, if you don't remember who the authorized participants are for all of these ETFs, let me bring up this old article here. Bitcoin ETF, these are all the authorized participants. And just to kind of lay it out for you very, in the short of it, where is it in this article? It basically says that for pretty much all of these, the authorized participants, oh, here we go. Jane Street and JP Morgan were among the first to be named in the latest and potentially of application updates. Essentially, in all of these cases, it is JP Morgan and Jane Street that are the authorized participants for most of these ETFs. Now, you could say, obviously, Opti, of course, that was going to be the case. They're the biggest banks. They're some of the biggest trading platforms, some of the biggest asset managers. Of course, if you are going to go to the traditional financial world, then you're going to go to the quote trusted names, right? That makes perfect sense. In a simple world, it doesn't sound that crazy, right? It's like, yeah, of course, if you're going to do a traditional ETF, of course you're going to go to the guys that, oh, look at my hair. Whoa, hair's crazy. All right, sorry guys. Damn. Your boy's looking wild today. It doesn't sound that crazy, right? Well, let's just look into it a little more. So first and foremost, since Galaxy Digital is a part of this, we do know Galaxy Digital has an ETF. And here in this article, we can see exactly who their authorized participants are. So for the Invesco Galaxy Bitcoin Fund, it is JP Morgan, Virtu Americas, Jane Street Capital, and Merrick's Capital, which are signed on as the authorized participants. Again, we know Jamie Dimon, at least publicly, has been a very vocal hater of Bitcoin. He's done the classic, like, blockchain's going to be the technology of the future, but I don't know about this Bitcoin thing. And then what do? They sign on to basically almost all of the ETFs. Well, not all of them, but the big ones, okay? Signs on to the big ones. In particular, the very first one, which was the IBIT BlackRock ETF. A lot of people forgot JP Morgan is the authorized participant. So even though publicly Jamie Dimon can go out there and be like, hey, we're going to fight the Clarity Act. I don't like Bitcoin, but if you want to use Bitcoin, by all means, I'm an American, I'm a capitalist, do what you want with your money. And then on the back end, they're making money off of Bitcoin. First red flag for me. Now, Jane Street, on the other hand, not a huge bank, but as we've been covering, or at least as the speculation is in the last few months, they are seemingly one of the big trading houses that has been trading against Bitcoin. So they've been, for lack of better terms, suppressing the Bitcoin price. Now, I hate saying that because it's, again, such a lazy argument of, oh, the price isn't going up, therefore someone has to be suppressing the Bitcoin price. I totally get that view of, like, you're just being lazy here. But in fact, I think we very clearly were able to see that they were in fact trading against Bitcoin. And further, it makes more sense if they are the ones that are signed on to be authorized participants to these ETFs. If they know what the inflows are to these ETFs, where the clients are buying Bitcoin at what price for these ETFs, then it's very easy for them to trade against that. And we all know Wall Street likes to make money. Now, the biggest smoking gun to the whole Jane Street story was that they got a case put against them, saying that you guys are essentially trading against their clients. Had nothing to do with Bitcoin, but it just so happened that once that case came out, there was no 1030 slam coming from Jane Street on the Bitcoin price. So it's almost like they got their hand caught in the cookie jar. Now, of course, this is all speculative. No conclusive evidence here that Jane Street is in fact doing that, but maybe it's just one of those like too many coincidences. And now we see that, yeah, you can do an in-kind redemption. It's just going to work the other way. You give them your Bitcoin, they give you ETF shares. Funny enough, in this press release, it doesn't say anything about being able to get that Bitcoin back, but I'm guessing that is what they're claiming is going to happen. I don't see anyone in the right mind being like, yeah, I'm going to give you my Bitcoin for ETF shares and only do in-kind redemptions in one way, whereas I can't get my Bitcoin out of it, okay? Now, again, going back to this press release, in the press release, it did say something specific here that I do want you to look at and highlight and remember, which is that this exposure to spot crypto through this in-kind redemptions is including but not limited to the Morgan Stanley Bitcoin Trust. So it might start with the Bitcoin Trust or Morgan Stanley Bitcoin Trust. I would venture to guess that it's going to go to the Galaxy ETF. We'll see if it spreads out to other ETFs. So let's look at the Morgan Stanley Bitcoin Trust authorized participants because we only looked at the Galaxy Digital one. Well, what do we find here? Pretty similar names, okay? So Morgan Stanley files amended S1 for Morgan Stanley Bitcoin Trust Bitcoin ETF, March 20th, 2026. And here we go. The following lists Jane Street, Virtue Americas, and Macquarie Capital, I don't know if I said that right, as authorized participants, allowing them to create or redeem large blocks of shares and profit from the arbitrage between Bitcoin's price and the ETF share price. Interesting use of words there. Profit from the arbitrage. Jane Street named in both of those as the authorized participants to those Bitcoin trusts and ETFs. It really adds a little more, coal to the fire that we've been covering, that Jane Street most likely was trading against the Bitcoin price, or put another way, trading against their clients that are buying the Bitcoin ETFs because they make money either way. If you're making money shorting Bitcoin, you know where everyone's buying, you push the price down, you make money twice. You make money off the shorts and you make money off the management fees. So I'm going to venture to guess that Jane Street was, in fact, caught with their hand in the cookie jar. And now it's probably like 99% guaranteed that that was the case. Now, I did say this was an attack. And if you can't read between the lines here, what is the attack here? Well, one, obviously, paper Bitcoin. If Wall Street firms are able to hold a lot of Bitcoin and then they're able to issue shares for the ETF, well, obviously, literally by definition, they are creating paper Bitcoin. Now, going a step further, when they create that paper Bitcoin, who knows how many paper Bitcoins they are creating based on spot Bitcoin, aka rehypothecation. So that's the paper Bitcoin idea. It's not even far-fetched. That's kind of how things work on Wall Street. So I would venture to guess that they would continue to do that. Now, again, I think when you read a little more into it, and maybe this is me having a tinfoil hat, maybe this is me being a paranoid Bitcoiner, but as we know, only the paranoid survive in Bitcoin. What is the other attack here? Well, it's you giving up the keys to your Bitcoin to these institutions that we basically are here to disintermediate. If Wall Street, if Morgan Stanley, if all the other firms, JP Morgan, Jane Street, BlackRock, Citibank, Charles Schwab, what's Goldman Sachs, all the big banks of the world. Well, those are all American banks, but all the big banks are able to incentivize you to give up your keys, to give up your Bitcoin so that they can issue paper Bitcoin on top of it. You don't control that Bitcoin. And they can do whatever they want with that Bitcoin. Say they go down. Obviously, that's a big stretch here, but you're probably not going to get that Bitcoin back. If we've learned anything from the past, you might just get a portion of the fiat value of that Bitcoin. And that's not too crazy to say. We've seen this happen with Mt. Gox. We've seen this happen with Bitfinex. We've seen this happen in the 2008 financial crisis. You don't get your money back once the banks go down. Again, it is capitalism for me and socialism when I lose, AKA you can get some gains here, but if the banks have losses, you're footing the entire bill here, okay? So I've been seeing this happen for over a year now. I've been saying this and people have been yelling at me. Even G-Money was on the show. It's like, Opti. You've been too negative here. This is all positive. Bitcoin will co-opt Wall Street. Wall Street had to do this. Bitcoin had to take this route if it was going to become the world reserve currency, geopolitical money. It had to end up at Wall Street. It had to be part of the traditional financial world. And I'm like, yeah, I get that. I 100% get that. And I know I don't want to come on the show all the time and be doomerish, but part of what I think is my duty here is to kind of explain what all the different attack vectors are, what the downside of this could be. And again, we have seen this play out in the last year. Where do you think all this selling from the OGs is going? There's only a few places, or rather a few answers to that question. One, maybe they're just realizing their gains. Maybe they've been holding Bitcoin for 15 years, and now they're finally like hitting their 100K mark, which to you might be your $1 million per Bitcoin mark. And they're like, finally, I get to realize some of my gains. I'm going to get some, dollars out of this. I'm going to live and increase my, quality of life. And you can't really blame them. Now, the other thing we did see is that a lot of people that do have significant wealth in Bitcoin were essentially porting their Bitcoin into these ETFs so that they can use more traditional financial vehicles to increase their quality of life. Essentially be able to use their Bitcoin ETF as collateral, use their Bitcoin ETF to, pump up their net worth, to get loans from the bank, to prove to the traditional financial world that they in fact have some wealth and it's not just in magic internet money. Now we're seeing Morgan Stanley, one of the biggest banks in the world, essentially democratize this for everyone. So you don't have to be a high net worth individual. You just got to be, the highest net worth and extremely, I forget what the levels are. I think it's high net worth individuals, and then there's one above it, like extremely high net worth individual. I don't know what they even call it at this point. Now it's, hey, look, if you're semi-rich, if you're just above poverty here at $5 million net worth, you can also participate in this. And this is the fear. Giving up your keys to that Bitcoin, giving it to Wall Street, letting them do who knows what with your Bitcoin. And then, of course, the risk of you never getting that Bitcoin back. I could be full tinfoil hat Opti here. I could be seeing dots that aren't there because, again, most people, if you were on Twitter this morning when you saw this come out, most people are like, oh, here we go. Finally, in-kind redemptions for ETFs. We said this was going to happen. Such a positive for Bitcoin. We are finally getting integrated in the traditional financial system. Like, it's only going to go up, man. Bitcoin is winning. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. But also, to me, it seems like they are just trying to figure out new ways to steal the Bitcoin from you. So what are you going to do? You don't fall for this trap. You keep your Bitcoin in self-custody. You use Bitcoin as a savings mechanism. You use Bitcoin as money where you see fit, or, you just hodl that Bitcoin. But I would not be using this. I highly recommend most people don't use this, because who knows what's going to happen. Again, if we've learned anything in Bitcoin over the last decade plus, it's that when you give the keys up to exchanges, to traditional financial institutions, well, that's kind of a new phase of this whole story and this whole saga. If they go down, you are most likely not going to receive that Bitcoin. So how do you protect yourself from this? Just don't give up the Bitcoin. It's really not that difficult. Now, it is interesting. And again, I have been saying this on the show. It is very interesting what we are seeing happen right now. And, to Simon Dixon's credit, he has been on the ball in terms of this, where Wall Street is coming with all the bells and whistles, all, the glitter, and trying to basically incentivize you to give up the keys to your Bitcoin so that you can, profit from the traditional financial system, so that you can benefit from more traditional vehicles for your wealth. Now, this is still part of the idea that we are still early. Holding Bitcoin in self-custody right now, to some of the no coiners and maybe even shit coiners point of view, you can't really use Bitcoin as money. Now, I know that's hearsay. I know a lot of Bitcoiners are going to yell like, Opti, I bought, coffee yesterday. What are you talking about? Where we stand right now, it is still pretty difficult to use Bitcoin as money. Not that it's hard from a user's perspective, but just there's a lot of obstacles to make that happen, whether it's legal, whether it's merchants not necessarily adopting Bitcoin yet, whether it's people not knowing that they want Bitcoin. So I see where they are coming from, and maybe this isn't as nefarious as I think it is, or rather maybe their intentions aren't as nefarious as I am painting this. But the name of the game is survive with your Bitcoin, especially in the bear market that we currently in. And lo and behold, it's dumping right now. Okay. It is very, very easy for people to get impatient, for them to try to find different ways to make money right now, to find different ways to, financial engineer more wealth with their Bitcoin, try to find yield and all that stuff. If I've learned anything throughout the almost 9-10 years that I've been in Bitcoin, it is when you overcomplicate this process, this is when you lose your Bitcoin. It's not sexy to say. It is actually super boring, and people think that we're crazy for saying it. But all you need to do is consistently buy Bitcoin and take that Bitcoin into custody. And over a couple of year time span, you are going to be doing better than you were before. It sounds too simple to be true, and people like to complicate finances because that makes them feel like they are doing something. Hodling in theory is easy. You just buy Bitcoin and you hold that Bitcoin in self-custody. But in practice, it is extremely hard because of things like this, because there's always something shiny and new incentivizing you or trying to convince you to give up your Bitcoin. Maybe right now is a good time for every single one of us to go back to one of my favorite articles in Bitcoin, Everyone is a Scammer by Bitstein, reread it, play the theme music on it, digest it, read it again, instill this into your brain that everyone is a scammer and they want your Bitcoin. So what are you going to do? Don't give them your Bitcoin. That is the whole game here. Buy more Bitcoin, store it, and don't give your Bitcoin to anyone. At least not for now. We are still in the monetization process of Bitcoin. You want to hold as much Bitcoin as possible over the finish line. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to hold all the Bitcoin you've ever bought. Now, that would be nice, but you want to hold a lot of Bitcoin or most of your Bitcoin over the finish line. Now, I'm not going to begrudge you or, yell at you or give you a purity test if you want to buy something with Bitcoin. I've bought a lot of things with Bitcoin. I use my Bitcoin. If I had Bitcoin, I would use it. But you just want to make sure that you do not fall for these traps because they are most definitely trying to get your Bitcoin. Again, there's not that much Bitcoin to go around. I haven't looked up at the numbers recently, but the last time I checked, it was like 67% of all the Bitcoin that have been created are in the hands of individuals. Everyone is fighting now for the last remaining million Bitcoin that will be mine. And then the 2.7 million on exchanges. There's maybe 3.5 million that is circulating hands right now or will circulate hands for the next 100 years. Like I would say maybe minimum. So there's not that much Bitcoin to go around. So what do these Bitcoin treasury companies, Wall Street institutions, central banks, nation states, governments have to do? They have to convince you to give up your Bitcoin. Now, the only way in my mind that is feasible that I think I would do to give up my Bitcoin is if you pump the Bitcoin price up, okay? Only number go up will convince me to give up some of my Bitcoin. Now, that's the mentality you have to have. Do not fall for all the bells and whistles because they are going to do whatever they can to trap you into these vehicles, potential 6102 type scenarios. Now, of course, this is coming from a bank, so it's not a federal government, so it's not necessarily a 6102. I get it. Don't actually me, bro. They're trying to convince you ways to take the Bitcoin from you and then potentially steal that Bitcoin from you on the back end. That's what I'm seeing with this announcement. Yes, it is a huge development. Another big bank basically bending the knee to Bitcoin. But don't give up your Bitcoin to Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, Jane Street, BlackRock, all of the big institutions on Wall Street, the very people that we don't like, the very people that probably triggered the creation of Bitcoin after 2008. Now they want your Bitcoin. Now they want to give you all the bells and whistles. Yeah, how about maybe don't do that, bro? Like, is that such a difficult concept? Is it so crazy to think that this is where we are? The then they fight you stage is a sly way to convince you to give up your Bitcoin because now they're 15, 16 years late and they realize they couldn't kill this thing. So what are they doing now? Well, we're late to the race. Maybe we need to buy it, or rather we need to get our grubby hands on as much Bitcoin as humanly possible. Maybe we need to crash the price by 50% so that we can get a 50% discount on this Bitcoin. We get millions of Bitcoin under our control. We start issuing more products, trying to get more Bitcoin out of these idiots' hands. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm crazy here. But to me, I was like, yo, this better not work on you guys, all right? This better not work on you guys is all I'm saying. Do not fall for the trap. Man, sometimes I feel like I'm taking crazy pills here. It's like the game is so simple. It is literally so simple. We overcomplicate things. It's absolutely insane. All right, anyways, as you can tell, I am alone today. We got another Simply Opti show. I was actually joking, and I'm sure some of you guys in the chat, either you think you don't care because you love my shows alone, or you don't care because you're like, who cares, bro? But I was joking before I went on the show. I guess Nico had like a busy morning already. And I'm like, yo, so like you coming on the show? And he's all like, no, not today, bro. And I'm like, damn, I should have never done a show by myself, proving the concept that I can do the show on myself, because now he keeps ditching me, bro. I'm getting abandonment. I'm getting abandonment issues popping up again. I'm getting abandoned on the show. So apparently now this is my show. So you guys have been asking me for, hey, Opti, why don't you start your own show? Well, guess what, guys? Plot twist. This is my show. Okay. Anyways, I saw an interesting clip coming out of Eric Balkunis, senior ETF analyst at Bloomberg. I think he's making a pretty interesting case of maybe we need to morph our message currently. And it is something I have been talking about, that we do need to kind of update our thinking and maybe also update our memes and, you know, how we shill Bitcoin to other people. So I'll cover that. I'll give you guys a little more. And then I want to follow up what I was talking about yesterday on the show about AI and stuff. We are seeing a lot of Bitcoin rotating out of the market and into either AI or IPOs. And Kobayashi literally, I wish I had this on the show yesterday. So I'm gonna kind of double back on that topic. And then on the culture, guys, well, rather just to end the show, we're doing a throwback, dudes. We're doing a throwback to a fail. Did you guys see what happened to ZCASH last night? We usually don't talk about shitcoins on this show that much. But when you see examples like this, I have to talk about this on the show. And to kind of connect this with the audience, last year at at the Mining Disrupt conference, I had a few people asking me about ZCASH, and they were very confused about why I wasn't a ZCASH guy. And at the time, I'm pretty sure I said this exact reason for why I would not hold Bitcoin. ZCASH. And here we are. It happened. Dude, it's literally not that difficult to predict what's going to happen in the shitcoin world. So that's the show. I got an Eric Balkunas clip. I'm going to give you kind of a more pretty charts and updates of capital rotating out of Bitcoin into various stocks, whether it's IPOs or AI stuff. And then the ZCASH catastrophe that happened yesterday. So that's the show. First commercial break. I'll be right back. Here's the part that nobody says out loud. Buying Bitcoin on an exchange and leaving it there isn't buying Bitcoin. It's buying an IOU. And the last decade has been a masterclass in what happens when those exchanges don't deliver on their promises.
Bitcoin Well is a self-custody Bitcoin platform. That means that when you buy Bitcoin, it goes straight to your self-custody Bitcoin wallet. You actually own it from the very first transaction. They're available both in the United States and Canada. Pricing is transparent, straightforward, and no nonsense. And if you're buying a larger amount of Bitcoin, Bitcoin Well Infinite gives you concierge-level support through a dedicated executive Bitcoin advisor, premium help for when it actually matters.
You can also stack a little extra through the referral and wishing well rewards. A nice bonus on top of the owning your own Bitcoin thing. So go to bitcoinwell.com/simply and sign up for the Bitcoin Well portal today and buy Bitcoin you actually own.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, StampSeed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed phrases really secure? StampSeed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need for you to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of just writing them down on paper. Paper is fragile. Titanium plates are strong. Your words are actually stamped into the titanium plate with this hammer and these letter stamping tools. Once the words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. And now you can customize your titanium seed plates. You can upload your design or logo, and they will laser engrave it on the back of your seed plate, the opposite side of where the words are. Stamp your seed on StampSeed and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the stampseed.com store.
Yo, Rumble, you guys are funny. No, you're not chopped liver. Dude, I'm here. We're doing the show because of you guys. I feel a responsibility to you guys to show up every single day. As you guys tell, I've done them sick, tired. I won't say one, but you probably know which one it is. When you have a little too much fun over the weekend. Anyway, no, I'm a good Christian soldier. I'm a good boy. I'm an altar boy here. Okay. Oh man. All right. Look, the chat's saying I like the solo Opti shows. I do like them too. I have a lot of fun when I do this show. But I do like the back and forth with me and either a guest or with Nico or Sophie or Rustin or whoever. I think it adds a little more dynamics to the show. Like there's a lot more covered when there's multiple vantage points. So, you know, I don't mind doing the solo shows. I hope you guys enjoy the solo Opti shows, but I truly love the back and forth because, you know, I might miss something and Nico might pick it up or my guests might pick it up. And I think that adds a lot more value to the audience, and it's not just one point of view. So that's kind of my overall view of this. But hey, it's Friday, solo Opti show. You know, my new wig, bro. I don't have a wig, dude. I just, you know, my hair is getting a little long. I should probably get a haircut, but you know, I didn't put any product in it. All right, enough looks maxing for the show. The current Bitcoin price is 60,890. I don't know if you guys were looking at the price, but right before the show, it got as low as 59,000, dude. 58K, gang, chomping at the bits, guys. Officially broke the lower high this morning. All right, we got a lower. Well, I guess if we're talking about market close, there's still some time. Maybe it's still a lower high on the market close, but we got a wick down to 59, which low key might be bullish. You know, wick down, liquidate all the longs, reverse the funding rates, and send it, boys. Maybe, just maybe we are right where we should be. Anyways, the discount from all-time high is 51.7%, over 50% discount from all-time high. The market cap at 1.22 trillion, and the block height is currently 952,505. Okay, so Eric Balchunas was on CoinDesk, so shouts out to CoinDesk. And there is a little blurb here. It's like a 1-minute clip. And it does remind me of some of the things I have said in the past of, one, obviously updating our mental models about where Bitcoin currently stands in the macro picture. But two, something I've said on this show a long, long time ago. I can't remember the last time I said this, but the short of it was something on the lines of maybe the Bitcoin memes and Bitcoin messaging that got us into Bitcoin or got Bitcoiners up to this point into Bitcoin, maybe those aren't going to be the same things that need to be said to get the next 10, 100 million, billion people using Bitcoin. And I don't think that necessarily means that the Bitcoin memes that we love and cherish and believe are necessarily bad. It's more on the angle of that probably just doesn't resonate with, you know, a normal average person. I would say we're not normal, okay? I would venture to guess that most of us are not normal. As you can tell, I'm not normal. I was going to say clinically insane. I'm not actually clinically insane. I'm just an insane person, all right? I'm an eccentric, charismatic, insane person, all right? I lean into this. I understand. You know, I'm a freak. It is what it is. You know, I'm a endearing freak like Marty Bett and Matt Odell calls us. I am a freak, all right? I'm a strange person, you know? I'm somehow 42 IQ. I'm somehow regarded, but also I'm somehow an intellectual. You know, it's the left side of the right side of the bell curve dichotomy. Somehow I'm the biggest idiot on planet Earth, and yet all the things I'm interested are for smart people. I don't know how this works. As I always say, when you go so far down the left side of the bell curve, you transcend the bell curve and you end up on the right side. It's magic, okay? Anyways, just keep that in mind. Let's watch this Eric Balchunas clip because he is framing this a little different, but I think that is the theme here, okay?
The only thing I do worry about, and I think this is something where the industry itself has to kind of figure this out, is the messaging shouldn't only be, hey, the boomers are coming. That makes it seem more Ponzi-ish, like we just need more investors. I think the message is that the fundamental purpose and value here is that the government is going to print money like crazy no matter who's president. And if you want a hedge, something that the government cannot debase, this is a powerful asset for that, similar to gold.
I don't disagree with this, okay? Though Ponzi for the people. Come on. Come on, Eric Balkunis. We love that meme. This is a Ponzi for the people, okay? No, that's probably, okay, I get it. I forget. I got to be serious here. We can't troll. I've always loved that meme, Ponzi for the people. It's such a good meme. But anyways, going back and being serious, the fun police are here. I do kind of agree with him in terms of the messaging moving forward. It does have to change. And you guys probably heard me say this on the show. If you've watched this show for years at this point, it was the how to win friends and influence quote that I've used for a long time, that you have to, hook the bait for the fish you're trying to catch. And it's essentially, the fundamentals of Bitcoin don't change. 21 million, censorship resistant, permissionless, unconfiscatable, peer-to-peer, all the memes. That doesn't change. But what does change, and I'm sure you guys have all experienced this, is you do the whole end the Fed, the dollar has lost 90% of its purchasing power since 1913. You're getting poorer. WTF happened in 1971. Look at inflation. It's out of control. And the person you're talking to is just like, you are a crazy person. Their eyes glaze over. They tune you out after the first mimetic sentence. And they're like, cool story. So how about the game last night? We've all experienced this. I think, especially on this show, it's one of the things I had thought about a lot in 2024. As the narratives around Bitcoin started to change, as BlackRock got into Bitcoin, as the 2021 bull market wasn't as spectacular as I thought it was going to be. My thinking around how do I talk about this to people, or further, should I even talk about this to people, changed and started to mutate and iterate. I've been thinking about this for many years at this point. And I boiled it down to what I said before the clip, that I'm fundamentally of the opinion that the memes that we love and believe, the memes that we constantly talk about, not your keys, not your Bitcoin, stack sat, stay humble, all of that stuff, Bitcoin or slavery, all the memes that you constantly tweet, and they're almost like dogmatic cult sayings, the purity test of Bitcoin. I really think they only have the total addressable market that we currently find ourselves in. And by that, I mean that I don't necessarily think that maybe they don't have any more power to attract more people. But if we're being honest, and I've said this many times on this show, if we're being honest, Bitcoiners are very bad at advocating and marketing for Bitcoin, because if we were better at it, there would be more Bitcoiners. Full stop. So I'm always of the opinion, look at myself in the mirror. Maybe it's the way that I'm coming across. Maybe it's the words that I'm using to shill Bitcoin to orange pill people. And if it's not resonating with them, then obviously tailor that message to the person. Now, there might be some people out there that aren't Bitcoiners yet, that the freedom money idea, the freedom money rhetorical tools, the memes that we use, maybe you can still catch some of them. But again, I just, maybe it's me being pessimistic, but I think that if our messaging got us to this point, maybe it's not going to be effective to the next 100 million, billion people in Bitcoin. And maybe you have to kind of rethink how you talk about Bitcoin. And I think Eric Balkunis is kind of saying this. It's like, if you're going to the ETF investors, the boomers, you're like, thank God, the cavalry is here. Give me your money so that I can get rich too. They're like, yeah, I don't want to join this Ponzi. Like, what are you talking about? This sounds like Herbalife here. This sounds like a multi-level marketing scheme. These kids are crazy. I kind of agree with him, though I think I fundamentally disagree with his messaging. We've tried that. We've tried the Bitcoin is a hedge against inflation. They're going to print money forever. I would go so far to say that I think even that is too complicated for a lot of people. And you guys know I am team human. You know, I do this to try to get Bitcoin in front of as many people as possible on YouTube. Again, second largest search engine in the world. The whole premise of this show is trying to get as many everyday people into Bitcoin as possible so that they can save themselves from the impending fiat apocalypse that will inevitably hit planet Earth. But with that said, maybe it's just something that we've all been through since 2020. But you know what I'm saying? Like, can we really put that much faith in the masses? Like, some days I'm super optimistic. I mean, I'm always optimistic. All right. Hold up. I'm always optimistic. But some days, I wake up and I'm like, no, like, we just got to double down. We're going to save everyone. Everyone is going to become a Bitcoiner. Anyone can become a Bitcoiner. If I can do it, they can do it. They just haven't gotten it yet, man. They haven't found the pressure point yet. And then other days I wake up and I'm like, dude, the masses are hopeless. Like, they're eating freaking, pineapple Kool-Aid, and it's going Kool-Aid pineapples, and it's going viral right now on social media. It's like the new hot things going on. They're all watching Euphoria and they're caught up in it. And look, full disclosure, I watched the new season. It was kind of mid. Last episode was okay. All right. I'm a culture kid. I'm a pop culture kid. But they're just caught up in all of this stuff, and they don't realize, or rather maybe they will never realize, at least how we're shilling it, at least how we're talking about it, that Bitcoin will fundamentally change your life. And I always think about this. I'm like, I think Bitcoin is the biggest invention of the 21st century. Maybe one of the biggest. We'll be a little conservative here. One of the biggest inventions of the 21st century. I think it's going to fundamentally change the course of human history. It's going to fundamentally change our society, our world. And then it just like blows my mind. I'm like, how do people not see how awesome it is? How do people not throw every dollar they've ever made into this thing? What is going on in their head? And then on those mornings when I'm pessimistic, I'm like, damn, NPCs are real. They're totally real, okay? There is a lot of non-playable characters out there, and maybe we can't save them all. That whole idea of there only being 144,000 souls on planet Earth? I don't know, guys. All I'm saying is it might be real, all right? I don't know, okay? When you find out that most people don't have an inner monologue, you're like, whoa, what is going on? Look, serious question, can we save those people? Hey, it's Friday, we're trolling, okay? But, sheesh. Anyways, getting a little serious again. I think the point of this clip does resonate with me. That if you're being honest with yourself, we should be looking at our Bitcoin messaging, our Bitcoin marketing, put a better way. And maybe the marketing up to this point has hit a ceiling, a total addressable market with our current messaging, our current, marketing strategies. And I'm not saying every single one of you guys out there has to be a Bitcoin marketer necessarily, but what I am saying is you are a Bitcoin marketer. As I always have said on this show, you are a walking billboard for Bitcoin. So if people aren't listening to your message, it's basically telling me one thing. They're looking at who you are as a person, and they're like, I don't want that life. Cool story, bro. Like, I don't want that. So this is why I always double down at the end of the show and say, it is of the utmost importance for every single one of us to be the best possible version of our. Wait. Hey guys, I said version. All right. It is of the utmost importance for every single one of us to be the best possible version of ourselves that we can be. I think you as an elite individual, is the best marketing we can do for Bitcoin. So I do kind of agree with Eric Balkunis on this. The messaging in Bitcoin, it needs a little work. And I'm a big enough man to admit that, you know, maybe even here, like I'm constantly thinking about how can I do this show better? How can I get this into more people's hands? How can I get this, well, get Bitcoin into more people's hands, but get our show in front of more people's eyes? How, you know, I'm always looking at it from a different angle. I'm like, how do I say what I need to say so that more people understand what we're doing here as Bitcoiners and how Bitcoin will change the world? Anyways, I will get off my soapbox. There's an Opti rant for you, okay? I am a culture guy. I love pop culture. I am of the opinion that to change the world, you need to change the culture. How do we do that? Well, some of us become elite capital. Some of us become elite human. Some of us do go into high power roles and positions in these institutions, in government. But further, we make cool art, cool media, cool movies, good music. Maybe write a New York Times best-selling book that gets into millions of people's hands, and somehow weave in Bitcoin in there without being cringe and corny. But I hold that true to my heart. Anyways, I as you can tell, I can rant about this forever. This is like one of my favorite topics, period. How do we change the culture? How do we harness the culture to usher in the Bitcoin future, the bright orange future? I have yet to crack that puzzle, but it's what I want to do. That's what we will do, okay? That's what we will do. All right, anyways, moving on, another commercial break. I am going to circle back to what I was talking about on yesterday's show about maybe the outflows we are currently seeing and the lack of volume going into Bitcoin might be not just a Bitcoin issue. It's probably more of a macro issue with the newest investor in Bitcoin. Well, I got some good charts that literally they went live after the show was done. And I'm like, damn, I wish I had this on the show. So I'm going to cover that again. I'll be right back.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, Ledin. Here's something most Bitcoin holders never figure out until it's too late. You're sitting on wealth you can't touch without selling. Ledin fixes that. Bitcoin-backed loans. You keep your stack, you get cash. And they just introduced their lowest rates ever. No complexity, no fine print. The larger the loan, the lower the rate. These new rates apply to all new loans, refinances, and renewals. You'll see all the rates up front before you apply. The new, lower rates come with Ledin's gold standard protection. Your Bitcoin remains custodied and is never lent out for interest. Perfect 8-year track record of keeping clients' assets safe. Auto top-ups, LTV alerts, and partial repayments to keep you in control. Repay whenever you want with zero penalties or monthly payments. Ledin's perfect $10 billion track record through every market cycle in the last 8 years speaks for itself. Don't choose between a great rate and the safety of your Bitcoin. Get both at Ledin. If you ever thought, what happens to my Bitcoin if something happens to me? Or what happens if I lose my phone? You're not alone. For a lot of people, the biggest barrier to self-custody isn't buying Bitcoin. It's the fear of making a mistake. And that's why I like Bitkey and I recommend it to my friends and family. Bitkey is a Bitcoin wallet built for real life. Not just for day one, but for everything that happens in between. Lost devices, upgrades, accidents, and long-term ownership. There's no seed phrase to write down and worry about losing. And no single point of failure that can lock you out of your Bitcoin forever. What really stands out about Bitkey is the peace of mind. Recovery is built in. Inheritance is built in. It's a complete self-custody system built by the team behind Square and Cash App, designed to make holding your own Bitcoin simpler and safer. Take self-custody of your Bitcoin today using Bitkey. Go to bitkey.world and use promo code SIMPLY for 10% off your new Bitkey. That's bitkey.world, promo code SIMPLY. Yo,
The the chat on Rumble said, "Why does Opti have John Wick here?" Yo, that's good. Damn, I'm getting cooked today. I'm getting cooked. Yo, JJ says can't afford a haircut. Oh man, yo, I'm dying. Man, that's funny. You guys are funny. Oh man. All right. Anyways, actually, let me start with the Sailor tweet, because I think that's probably, if you weren't here yesterday, and shout out to Java in the chat. Java keeps saying, like, are you going to say the real reason Bitcoin is going down? No, not today. I am just rehashing kind of what we said yesterday. But I will start with Sailor's tweet. Hold on, let me find it. So yesterday's show is basically built around this idea. Capital markets are funding the AI build-out at historic scale. Roughly $400 billion over the last 6 months, and Bitcoin ETFs have seen about $4 billion of outflows since May 14th, pressuring Bitcoin. This is a capital rotation, not a Bitcoin impairment. Volatility creates opportunity. And actually, before I go on and kind of add a little bit to yesterday's show, did you guys see Jim Cramer and Sailor's back and forth this morning? It was pretty funny. So Jim Cramer quote tweeted in a Pomp video, and it's a video of Matt Cole from Strive. And he goes, Sailor murdered Bitcoin. Yo, dude, we got 2 Jim Cramer Bitcoin tweets back-to-back days. Hopefully this is the bottom signal we wanted. And Sailor respond, it's just a flesh wound, Jim. It's just a flesh wound. Dude, is this not Princess Diary? Is this not Yo, we are Princess Diary coping on the timeline this morning. Absolutely hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Okay, anyways. So I was making the case and I showed you guys all the charts, and I didn't get this until, what time was this posted? Literally while I was on the show. I could, if I was, look, you guys make fun of me and say I'm like, you know, somewhere else, but I'm locked in on the show. If I was on Twitter, I would have had this for the show yesterday. So Kobayashi letter, and to my chagrin, you know, Kobayashi letter has been kind of negative on Bitcoin, and they seem pretty positive on Bitcoin for a while, but they did do an insane chart, and it's brutal, and it doesn't make me feel good. And it goes, the most costly trade of the last 12 months was investing in crypto over AI. Will that change? I think it will change. Obviously, as we've seen, and it's very easy right now because Bitcoin is in a bear market, because last year we saw gold run. Now this year, you know, or at least year to date, we've seen AI stocks go absolutely insane, but this chart is pretty brutal. So Bitcoin since, what is this? Yeah, Bitcoin year to date, down 38%, MicroStrategy down 66%, AMD up 373, Intel up 471, Micron, the pretty sure that's semiconductor. That's the one I wanted to say yesterday. I always forget that one. Up 1,000. Honestly, it's really, really rough being a Bitcoiner right now, but we will be right. Hold up. We will be right. We will be right one day soon. Again, part of being a Bitcoiner is you're an idiot for 3 years and then you're right for like 3 weeks. And that's just a process. You're like, man, I know I should be holding this Bitcoin, but the siren song is calling and I need some gains. Do I sell my Bitcoin and chase the AI top? Markets can be irrational longer than I can be solvent. The top can be more toppy. And we never know when the top is in until it is not. So I would not be chasing AI stocks, but objectively, AI has been kind of, you know, taking us behind the shed for the last year. That's what's going on. All right. I made the case yesterday that a lot of capital has left Bitcoin and got into AI. And we've seen this happen with the public Bitcoin mining companies. I think that's what we've been seeing the last 2 weeks with the ETF outflows. they're getting bored. They're looking at the price of Bitcoin. They felt some pain and they're like, let me take some chips off the table and put them into AI. And remember, yesterday I was ranting about the SpaceX IPO. Well, Macroscope hit the nail on the head. He goes, just in case anyone didn't understand that this Bitcoin sell-off is mostly a capital rotation story and not a Bitcoin specific story. It's very easy to click sell IBIT in the brokerage account to free up funds for a SpaceX IPO, buy. And in the long term, Bitcoin will continue to greatly benefit from creation of an ETF. It also becomes more susceptible to short-term capital rotations by mainstream investors. This rotation should slow and may have already started, this week, and then it will eventually reverse. I am of the opinion that, look, we've been getting cooked. There is a lot of capital rotating out of Bitcoin. I know for a lot of times, a lot of the engagement conversation was, gold's going to rotate into Bitcoin. Well, that didn't happen. Now I've seen people say, AI gains are going to roll into Bitcoin. I mean, maybe, sure, bro. It might, if it blows up or if people get scared. But if it continues to go up, we're going to see more capital rotate out of Bitcoin into the AI stocks. And then with literally the biggest IPO to ever hit human history, SpaceX about to go live. Or did it go live? Wasn't it this week that it went live? I saw it was supposed to go live. Friday, June 12th. All right, so next week, guys. Next week, June 12th. On Friday, SpaceX planning to go IPO on NASDAQ. So with that being said, we might be seeing some more outflows for the next week or so as people prepare for the SpaceX IPO, as the TradFi investor tries to look for some gains. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if when the SpaceX IPO launches that it just dumps, but I'm pretty sure that the powers that be, whoever you want to name them to be, will make sure that the SpaceX IPO does well. Because as we know, it's going to go into basically everyone's 401k. And since it is so, I would maybe argue, overvalued, I think they're going to do whatever they can to make sure this IPO launch was great. I know SpaceX is a lull, bro. Of course, a Friday. Yeah. You guys heard my SpaceX rant yesterday. I'm not going to rehash it. But Daniel Rios really hit the nail on the head on that one. Fully endorsed that idea. But we're seeing it happen. And, as we see potentially people leave the Bitcoin space chasing gains in IPO or AI, an interesting number has came out this week that we've had the largest drop in Bitcoin in a week since FTX, guys. So for everyone out there that's like, it's not even that bad, bro. Like, this is a minor Bitcoin drop. Like, it didn't go 80% down. Yeah, it only is literally the second biggest single weekly drawdown since FTX. And you remember what happened with FTX? It was an exchange that completely blew up because they had no Bitcoin. They claimed, I forget how many Bitcoin they claimed to have, but it turned out that it was all fake Bitcoin that they were selling their clients. And we know what happened to the market. It tanked the market. And we're still dealing with the aftermath, or rather the bad taste, the bad image of Sam Bankman-Fried. And we still haven't gotten an end to the Mt. Gox saga, the FTX saga. Those coins are, still locked up in court cases. Well, most of those. So, FTX fraud marked the bottom of the bear market in November 2022. Are we seeing this again, guys? Actually, it's worse. So the FTX single week drop was 22%. I looked over here on my chart. Let me go to this one. I like this chart better. Let's do a live update. How big is this drop? currently 17.5. If you count the wick, 18.8, almost 19%. Pretty big weekly drop. Pretty brutal week. So it's bad. If we bottom, it's supposed to be in October. Then we'll talk for all right. Look, boof. Guys, let me pull this chart. So I got a banger yesterday on Twitter. I said 4-year maxis mad, bottom is in. Let me pull up this BitBo chart because I'm not gonna lie, guys. Oh wait, whoa, what is this? We might have seen the bottom. This is it, guys. Not financial advice. Do not put your net worth based on what I'm saying here right now because you think it is the bottom. But this chart is super interesting right here. Hold on, where is it? All right, hold on. I'm over here. You guys can follow along with me. When you do stuff live, why is it always harder when you do stuff live? I think it's this one. Okay, compare bull markets. Charts.bitbo.io. We're going to compare the bull markets days since price breakout. And I am super colorblind, but you can see here, look at this. It's this red one that gets lost for me with this green one. So we're going to follow along. Era 5 literally hitting the bottom of the era 4 on this days after breakout chart. So everyone's still saying October is when we see the bottom, but 4-year maxis mad, bottom is already in. Doesn't mean we're not going to go sideways, or it doesn't mean we're going to break out tomorrow. All I'm saying is maybe this is it. Maybe this wait. Yo, I'm like I didn't even show it to you guys. I'm like Trump here, trust me guys, the war is over in Iran. This time is for real. This time for real. Negotiations are going super well. Monday morning. Friday, actually not going super well. We hear Iran say, no, we're not even talking to you. I don't even know how many times we've heard that the war is over at this point. I think it's 12. But this time's for real. Okay. Final shakeout. This time I've probably said this more than 12 times. Final shakeout. Look at that. It's literally hitting exactly at that line. Look at this. It's a beaut. So is it true? So what, how many days? 750. So we'll go a month of sideways at 58K gang, dude. Anyways, I don't know. Who knows? Trust me, bro. Okay. Trust me, bro. Anyways, we're going to have a little fun here. If you are someone that watches this show and for God knows why, you still hold some shit coins, we're going to break down why you should never hold anything but Bitcoin. And if you are someone that got caught up in the whole crypto Twitter marketing campaign to sell some of your Bitcoin for ZCASH, and you're wondering why your bags are down 50%, well, I got the perfect segment for you guys. Okay. So I will be right back after our final break, and we're going to do a throwback, a shitcoin fail Friday. Here we go.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, HIVE Digital Technologies. Fueled by clean energy, HIVE has quadrupled its global Bitcoin mining footprint and channels that same scale into high performance compute, where their AI cloud is now ranked #1 in the world for network performance. At HIVE, you've got dual engines, Bitcoin and AI humming, roaring, accelerating in unison. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're rewriting the playbook on sustainable digital infrastructure. You can catch the latest buzz at HIVE Digital Tech or at HIVEDigitalTech.com. I want to give a shout out to our partner, Sat123.com. Sovereignty isn't just about your money, it's about your communications too. When the grid goes down, most people go dark. Cell towers fail, and hurricanes, cyber attacks, and blackouts. But satellite phones, they don't rely on local infrastructure. Iridium has 77 satellites in orbit, giving you a direct line anywhere in the US, even offshore. If you hold your own Bitcoin keys, you should hold your own comms too. Sat123.com also has everything you need to start building your Bitcoin citadel. Starlink, battery backups, Faraday bags to protect your hardware wallets, and much, much more. It's a one-stop shop for anyone serious about resilience and off-grid independence. Stay connected, stay independent, stay sovereign. Go to sat123.com/simply today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the store.
Sorry. You guys catch me when I'm trolling in the chat, okay? I have like 4 different hats going on at the same time. I'm producing the show, I'm doing the show, I'm chatting with you in the multiple group chats, and then I rant and ramble, okay? But JJ, hey, all right, look, guys. We're going to give JJ his flowers here. JJ. On Rumble. Next cycle. Well, this current cycle, you got to give us your TA, bro. Where's the bottom? When does it end? Where is the top? So we can all trade with you. All right. No, I'm trolling. But I might listen to JJ. All right. Look, Rumble team, Rumble guys in the chat. You already know. I might, like, full disclosure, I might have to listen to a JJ next time. All right. Next time he makes a call, I might have to listen to our reigning Fiat Maxi on Rumble, JJ. Okay. He was right. Okay. I'm a big enough man to admit when I am wrong. JJ was right. Nico was right. Okay. I'm stupidly bullish. I thought I was better than this. I thought I've learned my lesson. I guess 3 cycles isn't enough and I'm still an idiot. All right. Okay. So yesterday we saw some crazy stuff happen in shitcoin land, guys. Some crazy stuff in shitcoin land. All right. Now this is going to be a expose of why you should never touch a shitcoin. Now, if you think this is just isolated to ZCASH, I would say maybe you want to think about those Monero bags, because it's probably, I'm not going to say the bug or the exploit that I'm about to explain right now is on the Monero chain, but there is a glaring similarity. Now, at large, I would say that most shitcoins are probably either going to experience this or whatever. Just don't touch them. Don't put your hand on the stove, okay? Anyways, 38-year-old Hodgson. Dude, it's honestly low-key crazy that that's his age. I could have swore he was like 60, bro. Bro's a few years older than me, and he looks older than my dad. Shit's crazy. Okay. Oh, man. All right, so here's a good thread by Bull Theory. So you can see the ZCASH chart and Tether lost 50% in 24 hours. So breaking, biggest privacy token, ZCASH, crashed over 50% in the last 24 hours and wiped out $5 billion from its market cap. There was a flaw hidden inside ZCASH's Orchard privacy pool since May 2022 and remained undetected for nearly 4 years despite multiple security audits. Security researcher Taylor Hornby reportedly used Claude Opus 4.8 AI model to build a working proof of concept that successfully generated counterfeit ZCASH in local testing on May 29. Although the bug has now been patched on June 2nd, the issue is that ZCASH privacy design makes it impossible to know if any fake ZCASH was minted before the fix. Unlike Bitcoin, where anyone can verify the supply, ZCASH privacy design makes it impossible to audit whether fake coins were secretly minted before the fix. The team denies any fake ZCASH was minted, but traders are selling on the fear alone. Imagine someone secretly adding extra chips to a casino, but because of the way the system works, it's got like shielded transactions, I believe it is, where you literally don't know who owns what. Neither the casino nor the players could tell which chips were real and which were faked. Shielded Labs is exploring a proposed network upgrade to allow anyone to verify the integrity of Zcash supply. Yo, first and foremost, it's almost like the Bitcoin network's design choices in the very beginning were the best one, and any shitcoin that tries to improve on Bitcoin's design choices are just inherently going to fail because they're not the right ones. But you know, everyone's got a new Bitcoin. I got a better Bitcoin than Bitcoin, and you should buy my bags. Now, the worst part about this, personally, from my vantage point, because obviously, like, yeah, I fundamentally agree with privacy. I think Bitcoin needs to be more private. We all know there are privacy concerns with Bitcoin. But I don't necessarily think that that should be on layer one. And I'm not the only one who thinks this. I think layer one should be able to be fully audited. We should know how much coins are in the network by design. Hard cap 21 million is one of the design choices that makes Bitcoin be Bitcoin. You got to know how much is in the network. You got to be able to audit it. Remember the Fort Knox audit? Whatever happened to that? We don't even know how much gold is in the US. We don't even know how much gold's in the world. And yet, the privacy coin of choice, they thought it was a good design choice to not know how many coins were on the network. Well, it looks like it backfired, okay? Now, this whole idea of it being that this guy, the researcher that used Claude to figure out this bug and patch it, the whole trust me, bro process that he only did a proof of concept and just did it in local testing. Like, bro, I don't buy that for 1 minute. Now, maybe that guy, maybe that person is a very upstanding moral person. And maybe they had Zcash bags and they understood that if I do this, I will hurt the network and I don't want to hurt it. He's got an incentive to not do it. But look, guys, you already know what I've said on this show before. If you gave me the money printer, bro, I'd be printing mad dollars. I'd be printing them like crazy. I'd be giving them out to all my homies. If you gave me the power to create more Bitcoin without you knowing, bro, I would be printing mad coins, okay? This is why you can't put humans in control of the money printer. This is why you can't put Opti in control of the money printer, because I'd be printing. I'd be printing and I'd be buying stuff like, hey, I'm only human here, okay? So, hey, if this researcher, ZCASH researcher, had the superhuman ability, the upstanding moral character to not create more coins for himself, sure. The crazy part about this is that this has been an exploit on Zcash for 4 years. Who's to say that other people didn't find this first and were printing more Zcash? Or put another way, we don't know how much Zcash there is. And this is the privacy coin that was going to save us. This is the coin, the network that's better than Bitcoin. And then just to add more salt on the wound, do you guys remember a couple of months ago? I think it was somewhere between like a year and 6 months ago, almost all of crypto Twitter did this pivot where there was a coordinated move to shill Zcash. All of the big crypto guys all went on Twitter coincidentally at the same time and were like, Zcash is going up, bro. We're going to buy Zcash. Zcash is the future. We saw Zcash go absolutely parabolic while everyone was chasing the highs. Turns out there was an inflation bug, and now people are getting wrecked. Who's to say those guys didn't know about it and were just dumping extra Zcash on the market, inflating the supply, getting gains out of it? I don't know. All I'm saying is don't touch this hot garbage, okay? If we need more examples of shitcoins being bad, well, in the big 2-6, we got one, all right? I thought people had already learned their lessons. I thought we all knew what shitcoins were. And here we are. People are still getting burnt with shitcoins. The big 2-6. Now, I can hear everyone in the chat probably saying like, but Monero's different, bro. It's a privacy coin. We can't audit the base layer. Who's to know if that doesn't have an inflation bug? But Opti, stop fudding my bags. Whatever, bro. They're your bags. I don't care what you do with your money. All I'm saying is you can't do that with Bitcoin. This is why we love Bitcoin. This is why Bitcoin is the only thing in this space that will last the test of time. We've seen this happen all the time. We've seen Bitcoiners' concerns be validated in real time on multiple different shitcoins over the last 17 years of Bitcoin's history. Bitcoin keeps chugging on, and all of these other shitcoins blow up. And there's actually, I've been seeing a big conversation on crypto Twitter, and I'm saying crypto Twitter like, the shitcoiner corner of Bitcoin Twitter. And you're seeing some very prominent shitcoiners basically be like, Bitcoin has no utility, bro. Like, I don't even understand why Bitcoin's still a thing. I don't understand why people even hold Bitcoin. Like, what even is the Bitcoin thesis anymore? And then this shit happens, and you're like, what? Like, you guys are literal idiots. Like, I'm an idiot, and even I can see that y'all are scammers, dog. This is why we became Simply Bitcoin in the first place. Because when we got in Bitcoin in 2016 and 2017, the biggest crypto Twitter accounts were all scammers. They were all shitcoin scammers. We got into space. The biggest accounts weren't, Bitcoin purists. They weren't Bitcoin maximalists. They were Bitcoin adjacent accounts. And they literally shilled all this hot garbage as new people came in. Everyone basically got wrecked. And in that wreckage, we all became hardcore Bitcoiners because we realized everything in shitcoin land is a scam. If you are not an insider, you are getting dumped on. If you do not have inside information on these shitcoins, you are getting dumped on. So the best thing to do is understand Bitcoin, DCA in Bitcoin, take Bitcoin into self-custody. Everything else is a distraction to get your Bitcoin. Everyone's a scammer. Again, we say it all the time, but this is literally like how Bitcoin was created out of the 2008 financial crisis. Simply Bitcoin was created out of the 2017 ICO craze. Nico and I were in the trenches. I was literally as green as can be. I got into Bitcoin late 2017. Bitcoin's ripping like I haven't seen since. You wake up every morning, the price is going absolutely bananas, and you're like, what in the world is this thing? I'm going to be so rich. Like, I am a genius. I need to throw as much money into this as possible. 3 months after I found Bitcoin, I'm on Twitter. Actually, rewind. Like 6 days after I found Bitcoin, I'm on like Reddit and, searching Google. And they're like, yo, if you want to be in the heart of the Bitcoin conversation, you need to go on Twitter. That's when I created my Twitter account, my first Twitter account. And the biggest accounts were all shitcoin scammers. And you fall for like Bitcoin's MySpace, Bitcoin's dinosaur technology. Look at this new Bitcoin. This is the real Bitcoin. And you don't know anything. And so you start seeing the shitcoin market go crazy, and you could literally close your eyes and throw a dartboard and you could make money. And I, took some of the money I made, which wasn't much at the time, and I started to, quote, diversify into the blue chip shitcoins. And shortly thereafter, the shitcoin market died, and I was losing more money than I was making. And my very small, I think it was like maybe $3,000 at the time. It was like nothing. And I think like I probably kept I don't know, like $1,000 in Bitcoin and like $2,000 in shitcoin. And 2/3 of my portfolio, my huge portfolio at the time, was just getting cooked. And I just finally had enough. I'm like, dude, I basically lost all the money that I gained. I'm going to sell it all, get it into Bitcoin. And that's before the market completely tanked in shitcoin land. And I made the fateful decision of, I just need to understand what Bitcoin is. And once you do that, you don't go back. Unless you like to gamble. You know, some people understand Bitcoin and they like to gamble. But if you are a true believer in any shitcoin, you're not going to make it, bro. You are not going to make it. So ZCASH literally, it's like all of the bad examples of why we love Bitcoin. They froze billions of dollars overnight. They forced through hard forks without telling anyone. There's a 4-year-old inflation bug. There is a company behind this. There's a creator that you can pinpoint that can literally be attacked. It's got what, like 5 billion coins plus? I mean, plus at this point. You can't audit the main chain. We don't know how much coin there are. Yes, it's private. Sure, Bitcoin does need some privacy. I agree with that. But it's the, guys, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. This doesn't happen with Bitcoin. And I think the biggest part that really upsets me is that coordinated shill of ZCASH from all the big guys. And I am sure most of them probably got out and they just left the, you know, the masses holding the bag. This is why you don't play dumb games, guys, okay? This is why you don't play dumb games. Yo, what is going on with Bitcoin strikes in the chat? What? I can't follow. What is happening here? What? Yo, chat, y'all are, you opt to use a central banker. True. All right. All right. I think that's enough internet for me today, guys. I don't even know what's going on in the chats today. I guess it's Friday. It's a Friday. Anyways, guys, that's all I got for you. It's all we got for the show today. Actually, one last thing. You know what is the most interesting thing about this? We say it all the time, you know, Bitcoin exposes people's incentives, and I think it's gone further. I forget who said, I think it was Max Kaiser who said, you know, the meme that money changes you isn't necessarily correct. Bitcoin, in terms of Bitcoin, you know, a lot of people will say Bitcoin changes you. And I think it does. But as, you know, going further, everyone says, oh, money changes you. Like if you have a lot of money, it will change you. And I always really liked the Kaiser iteration of it. It's like Bitcoin will expose you to you. Like if you are a shitty person and you hold a lot of Bitcoin, it will expose you for being a shitty person. If you are a good person with a pure heart, Bitcoin will amplify that. Like if you've been in this long enough, the idea of like slay your heroes, you know, there's some people that you loved when you first got into the space. And then the more you learn, the more you realize like the guy's kind of like not a good person. Like I don't want to be that person at all. And you know, what's the Joker quote? You know, you live long enough to be the villain. What's it? You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Maybe that's all of our fates, all right? Maybe we will all end up at that point. But, you know, we're trying to be good people. And in the world that we currently live in, it's obviously very hard. I saw this movie last night. I'm not even going to say the name of the movie, but it was pretty mid. It was actually lower mid. And it started off with this idea of like the richest people are like the most evil, corrupt people. And while I don't necessarily believe that, I think there is something to that idea that we all know to be true, that if you want to get to the top, you got to lie, steal, and cheat. And maybe you're doing it for a good reason, But as the other saying goes, as the other isms goes, you know, you look into the darkness long enough, the darkness looks into you. And maybe you become the thing that you tried to fight. Now, I think, you know, this is a spiritual battle. It's not just a physical financial battle. I truly believe this is a spiritual battle. And we are all in the fight. And part of this reason I'm bringing this up is because a lot of the, you know, shitcoiners, maybe they did have good intentions when they started. And maybe they're just getting caught up in, you know, the carousel, and they're getting caught up in the game and they want more. And then they never ask themselves, you know, when is enough enough? I'm not here to judge, you know, cast judgment on other people, but it is interesting that when you see this stuff happen, it really does expose a lot of people. And yeah, you know, right now, Bitcoin price is down, and the slow and steady game of accumulating Bitcoin isn't that sexy. It's really not that fun. Like there's like 3 weeks out of every 4 years, at least up to this point. Things could change, but it's usually about, you know, 21 days where it's the funnest time ever because the Bitcoin price is going up. And then it's 3 years of just being called an idiot and your soul being crushed and Bitcoin not doing what you want it to do. And you're just like, I'm such an idiot. The opportunity cost right now of me holding this Bitcoin, if I had just put it here, in hindsight, I would be so much richer and my life would be so different. It's not sexy to just stack sats, stay humble, and stay solvent. But that's what you must do. That's what you must do. Anyways, my bros. I will see you on Monday, all right? I hope you guys have a good weekend. I hope you guys, you know, maybe treat yourself. It is Friday. Hey, get yourself a good dinner tonight. You know, get yourself a good steak. Or rather, go to the grocery store and make yourself a good steak. Call your loved ones. Get some exercise in this weekend. If it's not raining where you are, get some sun. Move your body, stretch, walk, all that good stuff. You know, maybe take a moment of silence, ponder on the good things you have in life, ponder on the opportunity that you have, ponder on the good road ahead. So the good road ahead. Hey, yo. I guess I got to stop. Ponder on the good road ahead so that you can make the right choices and become the best version of yourself. And of course, stack some Bitcoin and take it into cold storage. Yes, treat yourself. Hey, yo, treat yourself. Treat yourself. All right, guys. I'll see you on Monday. Hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you have a good weekend. Peace out, my brothers and sisters. Until next time.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.